Why do you Christian women think you just automatically have the Holy Spirit? Do you not know that the Holy Spirit was given to reprove the world of righteousness, to rebuke it of sin, right, and judgment? Like, if you're not doing any of those things, then you just don't have it. Like, that's the whole point of it, is to teach the world. And so God clearly hates vanity, and for women to try and use their beauty to influence anyone, like, or anything, like, he just hates it. He wants them to be humble and shamefaced before him. He hates a haughty and proud look. So, like, do you read your book? What does Hosea 2:2 say? Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts. And I looked at your page, it says daughter of Jesus. So this verse is very accurate, because that cross, a big ass idol hanging between your breasts that you should take off, like your book says to do. Who is that for? Your faith? You think that represents God? You think that makes you a good Christian, to wear an idol between your breasts like God says not to do and commands you to take off? You're in error. You're in sin. You're breaking the second and first commandment, because you worship Baal. Same book, Hosea 2:17, prophesying about the end days church, the woman in the wilderness, who he brings out out of his wrath into the second Exodus, the woman in the wilderness. For I will take away thy names of Balaam out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. Right? And the verse before it, and it shall be at that day, saith Jehovah, that they shall call me Ishi, husband, and no more by the name of Baal. Right? Who is the church calling on today? Jesus, Zeus. They're whoring on Jehovah. That is not your God. This is why you think it's okay to wear crosses and do Christmas, and it's okay because your Jesus says it's okay, but really God says no, don't do these things. And because your church has failed you and your pastors don't obey God either, Jeremiah 23, Ezekiel 34, they're leading you astray. And since you don't know how to be a godly woman, here are some scriptures to help you. 1 Timothy 2:9-15. In like manner also, that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel. Right? Modest apparel. With shamefacedness. You should be so ashamed of your disgusting behavior before God, you're not even going to try to act haughty before him or make yourself more beautiful than you are. You should be content and happy with how he made you. And stop trying to make yourself better than he did, because he does not like this woman. And in sobriety, that doesn't mean what you think it means. Yeshua turned water into wine. He made probably buzzed people, if not drunk people, more drunk with better wine. Just to shove it in all your self-righteous faces, that's not what being drunken is. Being drunken is pride. Isaiah 28:29. Go and read those 2 chapters very thoroughly. It will explain to you that pride and drunkenness, right? Drunkenness has to do with pride. And yeah, so sobriety then would be to not be prideful. You're not going to be a proud woman, too proud to take correction, too proud to humble yourself before Jehovah and be shamefaced in heart and in appearance, right? You shouldn't be putting anything on your faces. Not with broidered hair or with gold or pearls or costly array, right? So you shouldn't matter and always be trying to wear like the nicest thing and have all these changeable things of apparel, right? He doesn't care about that. He wants a humble person. But which becometh women professing godliness with good works, keeping the 10 commandments, obeying the royal law. Let the women learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp the authority over the man, but to be in silence. So women, stop trying to usurp authority of men, whether that be to teach them or in your role as a wife, right? Or a daughter. You're not supposed to usurp man's authority. You're not supposed to question it. You're supposed to trust your God enough that he's going to correct that person, that man over you, if you pray to him, if need be. But it's not your place to correct that man. You might think you're right But chances are you're wrong, just like Eve was deceived first. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp the authority over the man, but to be in silence. The church is already in error. Look how big Joyce Meyer is. Hypocrites. They're all hypocrites. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived. But the woman being deceived was in transgression, right? She broke the law. She was in transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. So if when you have children, you can stop being a selfish Jezebel, then, and you start teaching your children the 10 Commandments, that is how you are saved, right? Because you're giving them the life-giving waters. You're giving them the truth. You're keeping his covenant going. Enoch 8:1-2. Fallen angels gave you that makeup, and it says the use of paint, beautifying of the eyelids, eyebrows, and all kinds of costly stones and coloring tinctures. And there arose much godliness and impiety, and they transgressed and committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupted in all their ways. And this is from the fallen angels. This is where it comes from, right? And then what happened? The fallen angels lusted after them, and then they fornicated, and then you had giants. Testament of Reuben, and this is probably the most dire one here, 13-17. Testament of Reuben, chapter 2, 13-17. But I also know I have this version in another book, and it's like chapter 5. So it's in the Testament of Reuben. For evil are women, my children, and since they have no power or strength over a man, they use the wiles by outward attractions, much like yours, that they may draw attention to themselves, and whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. For moreover, concerning them, the angel of Jehovah told me and taught me, this is talking about Yeshua told him that the women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men. And this is exactly why you see women way more into the Christmas spirit and decorating than anybody else, because it's a form of spiritual idolatry, fornication on God. And it's really evident in the physical, like when you see them decorating and doing all the shit God says not to do. And so they're overcome with that spirit more than men, and in their heart they plot against men, and by means of their adornment they deceive their minds. They deceive first their minds. So women are even more wicked in their minds than men, right? Because they're already plotting for these men and already fornicating them in their mind. And by the glance of the eye instill the poison, and then through the accomplished act they take them captive. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. Flee therefore fornication, and my children. Flee therefore fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters that they adorn not their heads and their faces to deceive the mind, because every woman who uses these wiles has been reserved for eternal punishment. And this is what the angel of the Lord, Yeshua, told him. So women, take heed. Don't be prideful. Don't be full of pride. Be sober-minded. Take the warning. Make the corrections, right? And be a godly woman.